Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Blue Podcast. This is the Black and Red Show with me, Jordan, your host, and I've got Ben and Mike from F1 Fanatics. Guys, how are we doing today? The first episode of this newish edition of the Blue Podcast isn't the Black and Red Show. We're calling it. We're finally getting it done. It's what seems like it's been like weeks and weeks of planning, and we've seemed to have a date, and then all of a sudden we've had to cancel, haven't we? So it's took us a while, but we're finally here doing the show. How are you guys doing? How's it?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. Happier after City won yesterday or a couple of days ago. So yeah.
You know what, Ben? That's a dick move to bring up football.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry.
Honestly,
I mean, I was hoping
this guy's suffering, I'm suffering, and then you're just like going, "Oh, look at me, Man City."
yeah. Oh, look at that.
Oh, Jack Grealish is so good.
Oh yeah, whatever.
If you brought up football last week, I would have been down in the dumps as well after losing to Tottenham. So it swings and roundabouts.
Oh yeah, but I was so disheartened that we lost to Tottenham 1-0 with all our £10 billion players. Oh yeah, like yeah, you're gonna be relegated, aren't you? With everyone in the squad.
No.
Oh yeah, but me and Mike are gonna enjoy Championship football next season, aren't we? Trust me, Mike. Championship football, it's a walk in the park. Believe me.
Absolutely. I'm excited as an Arsenal fan. This is like new territory for us. Championship football is an exciting new frontier. We might be competitive again and maybe win a title. We're just not the title we thought we were going to win.
The championship title, the year-old First Division trophy, which you used to win back in the day. But we're not here to talk about football. We're here, of course, to talk about Formula One. But before we start, do you guys want to kind of introduce yourself? I think, Ben, a lot of you people, the people watching this will probably know who you are. Since of course you are part of this channel. But Mike, why don't you give us a little introduction as well? Just maybe some viewers are new around here, maybe they don't quite know who you are. What is it you do?
He's been on the channel previously, but it's been a while ago. So might have to
so we're basically jogging memory. So I'm Mike from F1 Fanatics. We, with my brother Stephen, just basically so you've got the poorer half of F1 Fanatics, but Stephen doesn't interact with anyone underneath 1 million subscribers or followers. So I'm a bit more easy. So fluent there. So basically, I chat nonsense about F1 in terms of just give my opinion, and some people tend to listen, and some people just go, "You don't know what you're talking about," which is probably a fair opinion. But yeah. Talking F1 is probably the best one. And the F1 fantasy game. We are the home of talking about the F1 fantasy game on F1 Fanatics.
Yes, yous are, of course, the biggest game in F1 at the moment in time, which, of course, has been a bit quiet recently with the summer break going on. But very soon, though, F1 is eventually coming back, which feels like an eternity. But hey, we've got the second half of the season to go underway. But before we get started, we're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by New Year's Day. So if you know anyone who enjoyed watching or listening to our podcast, then please do share it. And lastly, please check out our new, improved and top quality merch. Right, with all that out of the way, all the intro stuff done, let's talk about what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. Apart from F1, the obvious, which I said before. We're recording this, just like I said, just before the Belgian Grand Prix. So what we're going to be doing then is talking about the season so far. Now, Belgian Grand Prix is roughly the halfway stage of the F1 season. So we're going to be talking about the season so far, what we think, the high moments, the low moments. And then once we've dabbled into that, we're then going to be switching over to what we think will happen in the remaining races, which wherever we're going to be going, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. So Ben, Mike, let's have your thoughts on this then. At the beginning, well, the first half of the F1 season, how would you sum it up then? Let's say in a sentence, how would you assess the first half of the F1 2021 season?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think obviously at the start, there was a lot said about Mercedes were coming out with a lot of the things saying, "Oh, Red Bull, their car is a lot better, so much better," which it has transpired. It is better. And they were saying they were, I've forgotten if it was 5 tenths or 8 tenths behind, and they managed to get that down to 2 tenths for the first few races or something like that. And but Hamilton got the win first race of the season. They got a couple of wins or something, and then sort of it hit a certain period. I've forgotten which race was first, and it kind of culminated with the Austrian double header, and it just like it was Verstappen to lose at that point. And then the recent races, there was the incident at Silverstone, obviously, and it's sort of, I think, mentally for Hamilton that was it. It feels a little bit like it looked like it was going to get away from him, and now it feels a bit like that season when Ferrari had the better car. Obviously, Mercedes never have a atrocious car, but in terms of performance, Ferrari had the better car, and it was Vettel, and Hamilton was able to sort of turn it around that time as well. I'm not as sure that that'll happen this time. I think it'll be a lot closer. But yeah, it feels like also mentally for Hamilton, that sort of incident at Silverstone, because previous times that they had come together, he had backed out, and as everyone knows, Verstappen's ultra aggressive in his driving style. And I think that time, I think he decided after the last time it happened, where he had to back out, he was like, "Nah, next time I'm gonna go aggressive. I'm gonna leave my wheels in there and then see what Verstappen does." And Verstappen did the same thing and went off for it. I think mentally, Hamilton was like, "Oh, right, I can be a bit more aggressive against him," sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to see sort of in the next half of the season if the car performance is still sort of in Red Bull's favour, or Mercedes and managed to do stuff, because I know all the teams are concentrating on the development for next year's car, because obviously the rule changes and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think at the start of the season, everyone was like, "Oh, it's going to be dead competitive," and then Verstappen sort of was running away with it, and I was like, "Oh, it's just flipped the other way," and then it's gone back to, "Oh, it might be a bit interesting again." So yeah, be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's kind of summed up that first half of the season, hasn't it? I think it's been about a title fight, where it's for kind of, as we've seen over the past few seasons, Verstappen rise and Hamilton have this dominance. We're like, wouldn't it be great to see them compete against each other? Like the Hamilton fans going, "Oh, Lewis is so much better than everyone else," and Max fans going, "Max is the best thing in the world. He's not won anything, but he's the best driver ever in the existence of Formula One." But it's finally good to see that action on track. And we had tasters in it, didn't we, of like Hungary 2019, and we've had I think Silverstone last year, where the second race, not the one where we had tires popping left, right, and center. But we had tasters of it, and now finally this season we get a real fight between two great drivers, and I'm just sitting back and enjoying the show, because it's amazing to see two guys at the top of their craft just being amazing week in, week out. I mean, other than the retirements, I don't think Verstappen's finished off the podium pretty much, which is an insane level of consistency. And I think Lewis has pretty much been there as well. And the only thing I'll say, well, that probably goes into the right. So we'll look at it. I'll leave that point for the later half, looking ahead to the second half. But yeah, Lewis and Max this first half season. What I would say, Lewis has benefited a little bit more from misfortune. When his mistakes have happened, he hasn't really lost out. Like the red flag at Silverstone, Max is the one that has the ending damage, but Lewis's car would have been ruled out of the race if it hadn't been a red flag incident. If it had just been a caution, then Lewis would have been out there. At Imola, he would have basically been a lap down with his mistake where he lost his front wing, but Bottas and Russell happened to have their red flag crash at that point, and he recovered to go on and still finish on the podium that race. So there's just those little moments that you kind of need to go your way, and Lewis has been brilliant as it is, but Max hasn't had those kind of little half bits of luck, which I think has just given the edge to Lewis in the championship, because they've both been brilliant. And I think probably a good one to lead in for that first half of the season would be getting Jordan's thoughts on Lando Norris being a McLaren fan, because he's been the driver of the season so far, hasn't he, Jordan?
Oh, 100%. In my opinion, he has. Anyway, I'll get on to Lando Norris in a bit, but yeah, the first half of the season, really, between like that's all it's been talking about, really, isn't it? Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, and I think that's when you know you're going to be in for a really good sort of championship fight season, which we've seen in previous years, but I feel like this one is more exciting because it's only two drivers, which we would love to have a title fight like we did in 2012 or even 2010 when there was like 3 or 4 drivers in contention. For like, you know, and as the races got closer to the end, sort of went from 5 drivers to 4 to 3, and then, you know, we'll have this massive showdown at the end. But the recent title fights we've had within the same team, that team being Mercedes with Hamilton and in Rosberg. And then, yeah, we've seen Max Verstappen on the rise. We knew he was going to be at the top at some stage. Give him the right car, he would deliver. And boy, is he delivering when he can get the best out of his car. And we sort of wanted, like you said there, Mike, we wanted to see this battle between Hamilton, sort of, you know, the one of the best of all time, if not the best, and Max Verstappen, who could potentially be one of the best drivers of all time when his career is finished. And we wanted this battle between Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, which we never got. We got brief moments of it, didn't we, in like 2017, 2018, but it never really lasted, did it? And Ferrari always fell off the pace. Vettel fell off the pace, roughly about this stage in the previous season. So let's hope that we don't get the same again with Verstappen falling off and Red Bull falling away from themselves, because we want to see this go all the way to the end. But it is good, sort of like seeing the master against the apprentice almost, and it's just been brilliant to see. But we won't go on too much about Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, because, like I said, everybody has been talking about that battle, which is brilliant. But there's certainly going to be more. Excuse me. There's going to be more events and big talking points happening between now and the end of the season. But Mike said there about Lando Norris being the driver of the season so far. Got a frog in my throat somewhere. Once to clear off. But no, Lando Norris, yeah, as you said there, Mike, has been absolutely phenomenal. And that was going to be my next point, talking about who do you think is going to be, is your driver of the season so far. And Lando Norris has just been like on a different level. And unfortunately, he got knocked out after that melee turn 1 at the Hungarian Grand Prix, which was, as a McLaren fan, it was heartbreaking, to be honest with you. He could have won that Grand Prix, to be fair, had he, went here or went there, but it's one of those things, you know what I mean? Bottas, he decided he wanted to have play a game of bowling at turn 1 to spice things up a bit, but who knows? But no, apart from Lando Norris has been superb this season, and for me, not because I'm a McLaren fan, definitely is my driver of the season so far. There are a couple of drivers up there, but I would say Norris has been on a different level this season, and of course going up against Daniel Ricciardo. So obviously, you said there, Mike, Lando Norris as well, potentially driver of the season. Do you think anybody else as well could potentially be in that category of like who could be driver of the season, or maybe drivers that have impressed you and you as well, Ben, so far in 2021?
I think Lewis and Max are always there just because they're fighting for a championship. So if guys are fighting for a championship, you can't say they're having bad seasons. But I think we just have such high standards for both. There have been some uncharacteristic mistakes from Lewis in mixed of world-class performances.
I mean, that incident at Hungary where everyone else went in and he was still out. It was crazy to watch when he's doing the start by himself, and you're like, what? And
it was mad.
And you think mad. Both him and Mercedes have had decisions that you're going, this isn't Mercedes. Are you okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, and Max Verstappen, there's little moments. As much as he's been pretty much on it, there's been slight moments. I think of, just Bahrain, first race of the season, is probably the most obvious one to, if you are going to be critical of how pretty much flawless he's been this year, of making that move at that corner. Mm-hmm. Was that the right time? And that's maybe a criticism of Max Verstappen, whether he makes the overtakes at the right point, his decision making of when to make the overtaking. But it's so hard in F1 sometimes, especially when you're at the front, that you kind of feel like you take the opportunity when you do. But then also the little bit of gamesmanship, letting Lewis past when he let Lewis past, then completely stuffed him, even though he had the faster car, and not taking that advantage when Red Bull clearly had the advantage in Bahrain that weekend. And you can't afford to give Lewis Hamilton any sort of advantages there. But Lando Norris, for me, the fact that he is ahead of a Mercedes and a Red Bull in the championship speaks volumes, regardless of the issues that Perez and Bottas have had. Lando Norris has still been absolutely incredible to be that level of consistency, that despite that, he is still third. And despite Hungary, he is still third in that. And what's he got? 2 podiums? Is it this year?
3.
3.
One
There you
in
go. I'm
Imola,
underselling
one in
it.
Monaco, and one in Austria.
Mental. Absolutely mental how good that is. And Lando has been such an exciting driver, and it's the shame with George Russell that we haven't been able to see him in a competitive car like a McLaren, like Lando, because it's been amazing to see Lando's development in those 3, his now 3rd season. The first season where he had this amazing raw pace, but didn't necessarily have the racecraft to back it up. Then the second season started off so well, but then faded away through the season and let Carlos Sainz come on top. And then the 3rd season, he's combined those together with blistering pace in qualifying, amazing racecraft. I think he's been one of the best overtakers and wheel-to-wheel races in the kind of grid so far this year. It's just, been absolutely amazing to watch.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously, Lando Norris is the obvious choice with just like you say, in that it's exciting in the sense for the future years as well, with hopefully Ferrari and McLaren catching up to Red Bull and Mercedes, that you can have sort of a 4-way fight. But I think maybe honourable mentions Perez obviously is behind him in the championship, but he's almost broken the curse of that second seat at Red Bull being just impossible. Like, he's actually, been able to show that you can. Well, he's won a race, and he's shown that, like, he's not not struggling for points. Like, he's consistently scoring. And I think another honourable mention maybe is his qualifying hasn't been great, but in races he's been doing fantastic. His Sainz, like, his qualifying has been, below par, but then it comes to the race and he's coming top 10 consistently. So obviously not quite as good as Lando, but he's done well in his first season with the new team, and he's yeah. I mean, it'd be exciting if Ferrari and McLaren can catch up, definitely, especially with the drivers they've got. Like you say, Lando, Ricciardo is obviously struggling a little bit at the moment. And then you got obviously Sainz and Leclerc. So yeah.
I mean, Sainz is a really good shout, actually.
I was just about to say that as well. Carlos Sainz has definitely gone completely under the radar in terms of his performances at Ferrari this season.
Absolutely.
Because Leclerc was the golden boy. This is the guy who pushed Sebastian Vettel out of the top seat, essentially. There, I know a lot of things kind of went on internally within Ferrari that are more so to that. But, Leclerc is the top dog, and Sainz, genuinely on performance has outperformed Leclerc at times, which is, really impressive. Like you said, Ben, new team as well. And, you've just looked at other drivers going in, like Ricciardo into McLaren, into a new team. It's not as easy as just rocking up and getting results.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people expected Carlos Sainz to be flopping way off the pace and thinking, oh, look, I remember everyone was like critical, even myself, going, is this the right move for for Carlos Sainz going to Ferrari? Yes, all right, you go into Ferrari, but at the time Ferrari were P7, P6 in the standings, like the car was just abysmal, and we all thought maybe all right they might recover, but it's not going to be a race winning machine. Charles Leclerc, like you said there, Mike, is Ferrari's golden boy. He's their number one driver. He's their future of the team. Carlos Sainz, we all thinking is going to be a seat filler for Mick Schumacher in a couple of years' time, but with these performances, maybe he won't be. Maybe he could be a genuine, could be there for another few more years. He's got after this year, he'll have one more year on his contract, and then if a brand new era and stuff, who's to say if Carlos Sainz won't do better than what he is doing this season? But of course, that will depend on where Ferrari are as a team. I mean, Carlos Sainz this season got 2 podiums ahead of Charles Leclerc's 1 podium and is 3 points ahead of him in the standings. Or you could say, well, Charles Leclerc could have won the Monaco Grand Prix, but he didn't start. He crashed his car in qualifying. He didn't start. That's the facts, and that is so impressive from Carlos Sainz. But nobody is talking about it. Everyone's talking about Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, and everyone's talking about the big fight up front. Everyone's talking about Russell and Bottas in that other Mercedes seat. Carlos Sainz is just there, just getting it, just doing. He's just like getting him. It's almost like what Ocon did at the start of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Everyone's like fighting, like crashing. All the attention's there, and Ocon's just like, all right, see you later. And that's Carlos Sainz this season. All the attention's there, but then everyone's like, wait, well, Ocon second. Wait, what?
I was going to say this as a McLaren fan, though, Jordan. Didn't that pretty much sum up his McLaren career? He just quietly went under the radar, especially that kind of first season where he got P5 in the championship, I think it was, or P6. He just was kept on getting these P5s, and you were like, hang on a minute, wow, that's really good.
I'll tell you how kind of in the dark it is. Like, where at the beginning of the season, like you said, that in 2020, Lando Norris got a podium in the first race at Austria, and then he sort of had some really good performances after that. But then sort of fell off the pace a little bit. But I think everyone was so focused on like hyping up Norris and sort of like, oh, he's doing so much better than he did last season, which is brilliant. Everyone kind of forgot about Carlos Sainz, and then next thing I know, I look at the standings and I'm like, wait, when did Carlos do these performances? Like nobody even picked him up on TV cameras. You know what I mean? Like nobody paid any attention. He just sort of just got on with it and just did his job, which is mental to even think that no one's even bothering with Carlos Sainz. And he did the same, when it was at Toro Rosso in that brief stint at Renault as well. And Carlos Sainz is 100% one of the most underrated drivers on the grid at the moment. And he's continuing, to impress performances. Whether he can continue that into the following season, into the remaining races of the season, I don't know, because chances are we're not going to know till Abu Dhabi. You know what I mean? So we're not going to know how well he did, because no one's going to really pay that much attention, and the TV cameras aren't going to pick him up in the race. So we're going to go, wait until Abu Dhabi. Oh, how did Carlos Sainz do this season? Oh, wow, he finished P2. How did he do that? That's amazing. He should be a magician. I wonder if he might do that after. He should be a magician, because that is some sly play. That is really, really good. So yeah, as well. So we've discussed about best driver of the season so far. Of course, talk about the top 2. Let's talk about like the rest of the pack just before we move on to the second half of the season. What we think. I think we should talk about one man in particular, Sebastian. Actually, let's talk about the oldest, Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso in brand new teams. Alonso coming back in after a couple of years away, joining, of course, the Alpine. Sebastian Vettel leaving Ferrari, toxic last year, in Aston Martin. Very hit and miss season, I would say, for both drivers. What do you think then about how would you sum up their sort of seasons so far after, of course, joining new teams, the pair of them?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's similar in the sense that they've both a bit hit and miss. I think it's a bit like they're almost, because like you say, they're both in new teams, they're almost finding their feet. Again, not to the same extent Ricciardo is, because Ricciardo seems to be really struggling for some reason. He's pulled out some decent results, but for some reason Ricciardo what you call but I think they have shown glimpses of what they truly can do. Like, so Vettel's got a podium and a few decent results, and then Alonso just in the last race at Hungary, like some fantastic driving to defend from Lewis, and Lewis would have won that if he
Oh,
hadn't.
100%.
So yeah, it seems to me like it's like you say, find the feet, and I think most importantly, especially for Vettel, is that he's in a team that isn't toxic. So it's been allowing him to, obviously not consistently yet, but to show his best, show he can actually do it, sort of thing. So yeah.
I think it was big for both of them because both came into the season with huge question marks over. I mean, as a Fernando Alonso fan, I had every faith in him that he was going to do it. And I'm like, this guy immediately improves the quality of the Formula One grid. You're bringing back a two-time world champion. How can you not be happy at this? As you know, people were thinking like the Zhaos of the world, the Lundgaards should have been given an opportunity from the Alpine Academy, talented there, but with all due respect to them, they're not in the same class as Fernando Alonso. And he had a very, I think, impressive start to that Bahrain thing. His qualifying, getting into Q3 before the car started going backwards, before I think eventually retiring in that race. But as he's got more adapted to that car, he's just started to show his class. He's just started to show his skill. And the guy's been competing in top level motorsport since then. Not F1, but there are obviously top level motorsport categories outside of Formula One. He became a world endurance champion outside of that. And I think, it's different to the likes of when Michael Schumacher came back in after that, because, he was keeping himself race fit, I would say, through it, and keeping himself in competitive championships and used to it. And yeah, I think he left. Obviously, Jordan will know that the kind of view of Alonso at McLaren was rather mixed. This kind of almost begrudging, grumpy old man probably is the fair one. Of toxic is a word that often is used around Fernando Alonso, and I think he's come back with just a breath of fresh air and been like, I want to change people's opinion of me. I want to just go out and enjoy my racing. And how I would sum up Fernando Alonso's season is it looks a guy who is just really enjoying his racing. And that was something different that I hadn't seen in Fernando before, that little partnership with Ocon. Like, there seemed genuine, real pleasure in seeing that he had helped Ocon win his first race. And I think that was one of the moments of the season, actually, seeing the partnership between those two and showing, teammates don't have to be utterly against each other. They can be united. It's what Sainz and Lando did at McLaren. It's what Ricciardo and Max did at Red Bull for a bit. It was just this kind of almost nice team atmosphere. So that was good. With Sebastian Vettel, people were writing him off. They said, Ferrari, he's finished, he's done. He only can win in Red Bull because it was the most dominant car at the time. They forget the 2010, 2012 seasons that he really had to fight for the championship. They forget the 2015 good Ferrari season, and forget that in 2017, 18, he did do a very good job against Lewis, but just a mixture of those mistakes and Ferrari. It happens across a motorsport season, but he's took his chances when it's come with Aston Martin. And what was it? The Baku was the second place finish, wasn't it? And
yes,
that was a superb result. And a second place finish at Hungary. I know it's not classified and he's officially disqualified, but you can still look at how he drove that race, and it was a fantastic performance within it. And I think, both guys have looked like they're enjoying their racing again and putting the critics to bed almost.
Yeah, I mean, we all thought Alonso was going to come into Alpine expecting to, win championships almost, or having that sort of same mental attitude, and the sort of the being like that annoying driver like he was in McLaren. And everyone thought, Ocon is going to be an absolute write-off. Like he's going to pretty much kick him out of Formula One. He's going to get that, is that dominated by Fernando Alonso. But like you said there, Mike, Hungary's certainly shown that Alonso is being a team player, and it's almost like, well, look, I'm in this situation. Ocon's in front. I'll do everything I can in my power to sort of help the team out, which is different from Alonso. Alonso, you could say, and it's like maybe the break from F1 did actually help him out in the end, and now he's back, sort of wanting to help Alpine in the future, which potentially mean he could, once he retires, he might take a higher role in management within the Alpine team, whatever that may be, like what Alan Prost is doing at the moment. And, various other drivers have gone on to do the same thing, like Michael Schumacher at Ferrari when he retired for the first time around. So maybe he's going to be there for a lot longer, but not as a driver, and just want to push the team forward. Or he might just be in a good mood, you know what I mean? He might just be like, hey, you know what? I'm having pasta for tea tonight, you know what I mean? So he might be happy with that. I don't know. I mean, he's Spanish. I don't know why he might be having pasta.
Chorizo, the sausage, isn't it? Yeah, he has some chorizo paella. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. He might have some chorizo for tea. But you said that about his retirement at Bahrain, and yeah, he had a very impressive Q3 appearance to get there. But since then, he's only scoring 2 races, and he's on a 6 consecutive point scoring streak at the minute. So he's doing really, really well. And on the flip side, Sebastian Vettel, absolutely complete write-off, like you said there, Mike, absolutely write-off. But I had my little hope in Vettel. I was like, look, all right, maybe the days of him at the front at a big team, maybe he needs to go back to his roots and sort of work with a team, an up-and-coming team, and we knew Aston Martin was going to be that. Unfortunately, they've sort of went backwards this season, which is a bit unfortunate. I had my hopes that maybe Vettel would struggle at the start, but then sort of gain consistency in it, and just sort of get on with his business, and nobody would be really paying that much attention. About what Carlos Sainz is done, but obviously Carlos Sainz has certainly hit the ground running very, pretty much since the word go, almost, just no one's took notice. Vettel's only scored in 3 races though this season, and they were kind of back to back, including that P2 at Baku. So on reflection, the results don't look that impressive, but I think as a driver, he certainly seems more relaxed and more like the Vettel we saw at Ferrari, when at the very beginning, where he was sort of like relaxed and sort of, look, I'm not going to be, there's no pressure on me now. I bet like when he started off at Ferrari, look, Mercedes have got the quicker car, we are just going to do our very best. And that's what he's doing at Aston Martin, and you can sort of see the glimpses of when Vettel was like that. But maybe next season, could they have the car to fight at the front? Possibly. Obviously, nobody knows that. But 100%, you want a driver like Sebastian Vettel in your team if you're going to be in that situation. Right. That's sort of the first half of the season covered. I'll get on to your favorite races so far. I'll get that onto that in the second, well, towards the end of the episode. But let's talk about the second half of the season now. And like I said, at the end of this, well, at the end of the week, as we're recording this, will be the Belgian Grand Prix. And boy, I can't wait for the Belgian Grand Prix. I love this track so much. And as F1 fans, we've got a triple header to look forward to. We've had 3 weeks of no F1, and we're going to have 3 weeks of consecutive F1. Belgium, the Netherlands, and the Italian Grand Prix. Then God knows where we're going to be heading off after that, because there's been so many cancellations. Japan recently got cancelled. Australia earlier on in the season. Turkey coming or going. What's going on with that? It's back on the calendar after Russia and before the USA. Is it going to be staying there? I really don't know. But let's talk about then the title fight. We spoke about it at the beginning of the episode, of course, talking about the title fight so far. Let's talk about then the title fight towards the end of the season for the second half of the 2021 season. Guys, do you think this is going to go all the way to the wire? And like I said before, Vettel did sort of that, and Ferrari, they look like in contention with themselves going into the summer break, looking very, very strong. And then at the second half of the season, it's almost like the summer break, just everyone forgot how to work F1. Strategy went out the window. Driver didn't really do that well, making mistakes, like we said. Are we going to see a similar sort of thing, or do we think that? I think this could go all the way to Abu Dhabi for maybe a showdown between Hamilton and Max Verstappen.
Probably, because it is so tough to call. It is so difficult to call, because I don't think Red Bull. I don't think Verstappen and Red Bull fall away as like to the extent that Ferrari did, because they're a lot more better organised, or they are compared to Ferrari that season. and obviously I think that Verstappen isn't in that sort of semi-toxic environment, but it is very tough to call because you can never write off Hamilton and Mercedes, although currently they've probably got not ridiculously slower, but slightly behind in the car. And then you got Verstappen and Red Bull, slightly faster car, but obviously behind in the championship. So it's very, very difficult to call. Yeah, I couldn't tell you really. Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, it depends. Like I say, we don't know. Maybe Mercedes have brought some upgrades or something like that over the summer break. I don't know. But yeah, I couldn't tell you really. Very tough to call.
I think that's the positive of what it shows this season is you can't definitively say as much as like I think I was talking with Stephen earlier on this. Mercedes, I think, will win in Spa, and I think they'll be stronger in Spa, and I think they'll be Monza. Zandvoort's a bit of an unknown as we haven't raced there yet. Well, not since the 80s. So that may suit Red Bull's package, but yeah, it's a narrow. Whoever gets out in front of Hamilton or Verstappen could be the one who goes on and leads and dominates that race. But it's such a credit to this F1 season that we go, you know what? I don't know which one this is going to go. If I was a betting man, I would play it safe and cautious and bet Mercedes and Hamilton because they've got the history behind them saying that they've done it. And some things that Red Bull have done this year, despite Mercedes, how they've been, they always know and act like champions. And although they've had their cage rattled a little bit, outside of it, they haven't. Where Red Bull just sometimes get a little bit too much fixed on things out of their control and kind of get a little bit flustered about those things. And where it's go, guys, you've got a great car. Just focus, keep developing that. You know what? Racing happens. These things that you can't, incidents happen within seasons where it's desperately unlucky. Like, Max Verstappen, Baku, you can't have that. Max Verstappen in Hungary, Bottas couldn't have done it more perfectly if he tried. Just how it managed to take both Perez and Verstappen out of proceedings. They just got to head down and knuckle down. And I think if I was going to put it between it, I would say Hamilton would do it. And if they get any sort of momentum, it might not go down to the last race, but I'm with Ben. I've not got a clue, but I think that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, it could go either way. And like we've seen in recent races, when Max and Red Bull were on this, massive, what was it, 4 or 5 consecutive winning streak with Perez winning Baku, Max winning the rest, we're all thinking, who's going to stop Max and Red Bull at this stage? They look so in form and so in the zone, like only a big thing is going to stop them, which it did, by the way, at Silverstone. And then same again at Hungary. So maybe we should just get our trap shut. And well, if you're a Red Bull fan, that is. But as for us, I'm pleased it's sort of, because I was thinking, well, all right, we didn't want Hamilton to dominate again. We wanted a title fight, but now Max is winning all the time. I'm thinking, well, that's good, but that's not what I wanted. I want a title fight between the two best drivers in the best cars. I don't want Max running away with it. Max winning it by Turkey or USA. You know what I mean? And be like, well, all right, good. Max has won. We've got someone different, but it was a dominant season again, and we didn't get the title fight we deserve, because I think we definitely needed one. And if it does go all the way to the very, very end, I think 2021 could be 100% a season we talk about for years to come. And one we'll be talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and one will be referring to, like we do it, in 2010 or even 2012 to some extent. That's how good the season is so far, especially at the front, and how tight the midfield pack at the minute is. And God only knows where we're going to be ending up in terms of Grand Prix as well. So obviously we've got that excitement of we don't know where we're going to be going, which I think this is something F1 should employ in future championships. Go, right, okay, we're going to have 20 races, 18 of them we're going to be announcing. 2 of them, you don't know where we're going to be going. Bit of a surprise. And I think that could be well, actually, yeah, on a random thought, what do you think about that? Because I don't know about you, but I like the whole. I don't know where we're going to be going. Like, there's talk of we're going to Qatar. There's talk of doing Bahrain. There was talk of Malaysia, but that's now out the window because that's not a MotoGP anymore. That's cancelled. Oh, man, why? But we could be going. Well, might not be going to any of them. We could be going to somewhere completely different. So yeah, like, do you think F1 should employ that in the future? No, yeah,
F1's mystery box.
exactly. That could be something.
As a theory, I like it logistically.
Yeah.
As a fan perspective, I think it would be a terrible idea because suddenly, 2 weeks to go or whatever, or a month to go that they release and announce it, hotels go, because they would have had to have known for a while. They go, come on, here we go.
It won't be 2 weeks. It'll be a good few months. But when they announce the provisional calendar at the end of the year, they'll go, right, okay, 2 races. You don't know where we're going to be going. By March, April time, bang, there we go.
But I think it's just you'll look at the financial side. The fan will be the one who suffers from that. But the TV fan, it would be amazing, I think.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. I mean, obviously for the fans who go in, it might, it'll take a financial hit. But like you say, for the TV fan, it'll probably add excitement, and it wouldn't be to the detriment of the teams either, because they'll have the data for all the potential tracks, won't they? Like they'll know, even if a track they've never been to before, they're like, all right, here, pull up the data for that one. Boom, there you go. Right, we're sorted for that. Like, but for the fans who go, yeah, it will be financially difficult. But like you say, fans who are watching on TV, it'd be exciting. Like, oh, have you seen? Like, we're going to be at, I don't know, Qatar next week, and never been there. Oh, that's cool. So yeah, but yeah, no. Yeah, just maybe it's something to look into. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't work in F1 and give them ideas, because they'll probably just go, "That is a terrible idea. Get out!" And why are you even here in the first place? Just weirdo. But like I mentioned there as well, like Qatar as well. There's rumors at the time of recording. There's rumors that we could be potentially going there. I mean, MotoGP do race there at night. Somewhere they could feature F1 because, like I said, Japan isn't going to be on the calendar. Do you think that would be a good idea then to go to a Qatar? The track itself, I mean, it looks okay, I guess. I don't watch MotoGP, so I don't know much about the circuit. I've just seen the overall layout, and it looks relatively okay, I suppose. I mean, do you guys know anything else about the track itself? Whether it's good for overtaking, do you reckon?
Don't know anything about it. I know traditionally MotoGP tracks haven't transpired well into Formula One. I mean, Catalonia is the prime example of that and that aspect. And Mugello, but a lot of people quite liked Mugello, but was that just because we had those carnage of restarts and everything? Was the actual racing, other than absolute stunning track and backdrop, would we want to regularly race their sort of season? But as one-off, yeah, I don't know. I think any track that's kind of like a one-off or having these rotating calendars isn't a bad thing. And yeah, I mean, if it means that we get a good race, then yeah, it's never going to be a bad thing, I think, on that aspect. But yeah, the track itself, don't know too much about it, but just, yeah, traditionally MotoGP tracks tend to have a lot of the kind of long winding corners, which are terrible for F1 cars. What is it? I think medium to slow speed corners or high speed corners, where basically you can't do any overtaking. F1 needs a lot of kind of straight, heavy braking zone to be able to late brake into a move and then accelerate out through a corner and go through there, isn't it? That's what tends to be what F1 needs. You get one or two of those on the successful racing tracks, like obviously the Kemmel Straight, or you have a really long straight like the Kemmel Straight or in Baku, or yeah, I think braking zone. I've gone blank. Monza turn 1 tends to be that, but even that chicane's a little bit of a squeeze through, isn't it? But yeah.
No, like you say, if it's on a purely sort of racing and sporting level, like if it provides a good race or good racing, then fair enough. I mean, there's obviously the other side of that is sort of the morality of it. there's the of the Saudi Arabian and Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where it's a bit like this sort of ties into a bit of the ties into just sport in general, so like football, everything, the sports washing of it. Like F1 is supposed to be sort of promoting sort of this sort of more equality sort of thing, and it doesn't really tie into that going to Qatar and Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia sort of thing. But I guess money talks at the end.
I think that's the point, Ben, isn't it? Yeah, it's the money talks, and as much as F1 has tried to make itself political with the We Racers One and setting a good example, it may do that within some personnel, but yeah, when it comes to tracks and things, they've made their sport so expensive that unfortunately the only places that can really afford to host these races without massive financial allowances are the Middle East. And after the year we've had, or 18 months we've had with COVID, F1 is looking at ways to kind of recoup some of that money it's lost. And yeah, ethically, you got to question it, but they're also looking to balance the business books. But you probably would prefer them to be honest about that, rather than trying to pitch a mixed message of We Racers One, but then obviously other ones it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's like you say, it's fair enough. If you need to balance the books and stuff like that, but like you say, if you just be honest about it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there's also all the stuff about it, sort of F1 becoming eco-friendly a little bit as well, and it doesn't quite work out when you go into these oil-rich nations as well. So it's all very mixed messages and sort of convoluted, but like we said before, at the end of the day, it's just money speaks, money talks. So it's a shame, but that's reality.
Yeah, I mean, it is at the end of the day, and we're seeing that with Saudi Arabia, and recently, Abu Dhabi coming into the fold, Bahrain, all this big money coming into F1. Like you said, money talks, and it'll be whoever bids the most, offering the most. All right, we'll pay you this to host the race and sponsorships and all that. And if Qatar is coughing up the most, because I'd imagine there'll be other circuits in contention, or that you could go to that would be better racing. But if Qatar's going to earn the most money from that, then that's where we're going to be going. So, and again, maybe a few people might not be too best pleased with that, because at the end of the day, we don't need 23 races. We could have just easily said, right, Japan's off, Australia's off, that's fine. We just leave them at that. We got 17 races last season, and that was still a pretty good season nonetheless. But I'm like with everybody else, like, okay, Turkey's coming back, brilliant. Do we need Turkey back? Not necessarily. I don't need to really be replacing them tracks. We've got the rest of the season to go with the remaining tracks on. They're totally fine. But at the end of the day, that's the F1 want to keep that 23 races, because that's what I'd imagine. That they've got all their money profit margins worked out and going, right, okay, but if we get rid of these two tracks, we're going to be down in less than what we thought we were going to be. And like Mike said, they want to recuperate as much money as they can, like everyone else at the minute, because F1 isn't the only sport that is damaged from that. Everyone else is doing the exact same thing, so be critical of it as you will, but it's like that, trying to hit that medium as well. Like they're doing the whole races one, but they're going to places like Saudi Arabia, Qatar,
it must be a purely financial thing, because logistically, I think surely you would have always gone cautious, because we have never had 23 races in a Formula One calendar ever. So to put that in place the year after a global pandemic, when the pandemic you hoped was obviously developing, but as we see around the world, there are still places going into lockdown. There are still places, struggling with outbreaks and like sporting events cancelled. Obviously with Suzuka, the Olympics, how it's been affected and everything. It seems overly ambitious from F1 to have gone for the largest scale calendar that they've ever done. So, like you said, Jordan, it must have been just they worked out the profit margins and going, we need 23 races to recuperate some of the financials that we needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like we've potentially got a triple headers, if you're with me. Three races off the bounce back to back for the remaining races. And first of all, we're going to the likes of Belgium, Netherlands, and Italy there off the trot. Then I think we've got a week's break, and then we've got another 3 off the bounce. I think one of them is yet to be confirmed. I think the other one was going to be Japan, but that's now off the calendar. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm certain that's right. And then I think we've got another triple header to end the season with, I believe, or around then. I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's just all a bit like, yeah, I totally agree with you there, Mike, about the whole why they're doing this now. Well, they could have had another 17, 18 race calendar based all in Europe, 1 or 2, one in Bahrain, let's say, or one nearby there. Brazil, you could say, I don't know, even try Australia, because I know Australia, they were dealing with it well, but now I think they're going back, or were back into lockdown. They seem to be called, in and out of it at all times. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, I think that's what everyone wants. Everyone will ultimately get it. Fans don't really agree with that, but at the end of the day, when have they ever listened to fans? When have they ever listened to us fans?
It'll be sorry, Karen.
Oh no, go on. Yeah, go on.
All right, I'll just say it'll probably be to do with the TV rights deal. They've been contracted.
Mm-hmm.
They've been contracted to do 23 races.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they're scrambling around now with these races being cancelled to get other races in, because they've got contracts to do 23 races, and it's why the Premier League, not obviously not last season, but the season before, when it stopped, and they finished it off during the summer. That they did that purely because they were contracted, the TV rights. They were contracted to finish those games, to play those games. So that's what it's that's probably what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
All these contracts that they've got, these TV advertisement, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but ultimately, that is the key thing from this to take from this is money talks. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what they say. Right, okay. Before we end the episode, our first episode, let's do a bit of a prediction then. How do you think then the season is going to end? Not just at the front, but maybe who do you think might do you think we'll see like I don't know, like really good races, or do you think we might see like a driver improve, or maybe a driver fall away? Like will Ricciardo, will he have a better second half of the season? Will Norris fall off the pace? Will Ferrari get better? Will Mercedes get better? Will they get worse? Will Williams improve? How do you think the next half of the season is gonna fade out almost as we end the season? As like a bit of a prediction. Maybe we look back on this and be like, all right, I was right with that, or more than likely we'll go, wow, I was way off with that. What's your thoughts?
For championship, I'm going to predict that experience rules, and Max is just inexperience in the title fight, will fall short. So I'm going to predict Lewis to win and become the outright all-time most successful in terms of World Championship drivers titles of all time, with 8. So Lewis to do that. I'm going to predict. Well, it's not even Lando Norris wouldn't even be a outside prediction to finish best of the rest. And I think I did a video with Ollie TGSF1 saying that Lando wouldn't finish ahead of Bottas and Perez, but maybe I'll predict that he finishes ahead of Sergio Perez in the championship. So he manages to secure 4th. I think that would be an outstanding season for Lando Norris. Probably like a surprise winner. So I'm going to go with the Sebastian Vettel wins with Aston Martin in one of the last races.
Ooh, cool. Yeah. No, it's it's difficult because, like we were saying, it's very difficult to predict. I might go for I don't know. Maybe Sergio Perez to become 3rd in the championship. I think he might pick up a few more points because he's shown the consistency. He's just been a bit unlucky a few times. Hungary is a case in point. But yeah, in terms of a shock winner, I think Vettel is a pretty good shout because, like you say, he's come second in Baku, and he had that second obviously disqualified in Hungary. So he's showing that he can get those podiums. So that would be an interesting one. And then for the championship, I think I'll go for the safe option and go for Hamilton. Although it could quite easily be Verstappen. It's that tough to call, that close, really.
The uncertainty. Yeah, I think I'll go with. I think I might go with. I'm gonna go Ball. I might go Ricardo podium as a shock thing. I think he might. Again, I could be totally wrong because he's so off. He's really off with the car at the minute, but he's trying to get into simulator work, isn't he? He brought a simulator into his house throughout the summer break. Not that that's going to be the answers to everything, but at least he's trying something. You know what I mean? I imagine he might be spending a bit more time on the simulator, really working with the team. And I think Ricardo is one of them drivers. On his day, he is really, really good. He just hasn't got there with the car, unfortunately. So I might go with Ricardo at least one podium before the end, and I might go with Russell to score another point for Williams. I think he might score another point and finish ahead of Latifi, because obviously Latifi is ahead of him, which is that's Russell's luck at the end of the day. And both of you said for Lewis as the champion. I'm going to go with Max. I'll say Max since you said Lewis. I'm not going to go for the safe option.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? I'm going to put it out there just to spice things up a bit. You know what I mean? Because like you said, nobody knows how it's going to go. It could go either way. Mercedes might fall off the pace. You know what I mean? They might have a dreadful second half of the season. I think they are bringing upgrades, even though they said that they weren't, but now they are, according to Total Wolf, who apparently might. But this story is about Total Wolf doing the rounds at the minute. Apparently, he's going to be going to jail. Bad boy. So maybe this is the start of the demise of Mercedes. Maybe, who knows? I don't think so anyway. But yeah, no, I'll go with Max. I'll go with Max, but can't wait to so of course F1 is back, and of course no doubt we'll be click the fingers and it will be in Abu Dhabi to end the season off with. But thank you so much for watching and listening as well to our first episode of the Black and Red Show, the F1 podcast on the Blue podcast channel. Hope you enjoy this episode as much as we did. Finally, it was good to be back eventually to get this episode done, like we said at the start of the video. And big shout out to John from Moto Meerkat, who was supposed to be here as well, and he's not. Mate, you've just let the side down.
Unbelievable.
So disappointed in you. You know what I mean? He gets a couple of likes on TikTok and thinks he's bigger than everybody else. Oh, look at me! Oh, wow. Get out of here. No, I love you really.
He's already the ego of the group.
Exactly. He's too big for this. I can't. It's like when the Spice Girls reunited and Victoria Beckham couldn't be. Oh, I'm not going there. I'm too big for that. This is exactly what it's like. Maybe on a less scale. But anyways, I'm pretty sure he'll be here for.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I just remembered. You have been on the channel before. You've been on there.
I have.
Yeah. We did the F1 debate show interview, didn't we? I've just remembered that. I don't know why I just remembered that.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We did a while ago. Yeah, when I had the channel, the F1 debate show. Yeah. And obviously stopped doing that now. So yeah, I'm just I'm a freelancer almost, you could say.
Yeah.
I'm like a free agent.
Goes for the highest bidder.
Yeah. Who's bidding?
The Blue Podcasters already signed him.
No.
Sorry, Ben. Sorry, Ben. I can't be leasing Jordan out. I apologise. I'm very excited for a bidding war. I wanted to get the hammer out and everything. Go sold to that podcast over there.
we put the contract on the table. The contract's there to be signed.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, if everyone comes in for a better offer with bigger bucks, I mean, I'm more than happy to take it. Money talks. Like no.
Honestly,
I mean, it's been a good
host. He's fickle. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Shocking. Yeah, exactly shocking. But Where was it up to on the outro? Yes, so if you want John calling you out, mate, absolutely disgraceful from yourself. But you know he should be here for the next one, hopefully. Links to Mike's channel and Twitter as well, and of course, you know, Ben's Twitter as well. Everything, all the links that you need to follow us will be in the description below. My Twitter might be down there if you want. I don't really know what I'm going to put, but hey, or just say hi if you want. But if you're new to our channel, then please do hit that subscribe button too, and you don't miss a video. Plenty more that the Blue Podcast does as well, not just F1, variety of other sports, mainly football as well. If you like a bit of football, as we touched on at the start of the video. And if you did enjoy it, then please check out the merch link in the description below. If you want to get yourself some decent, clean merch from the Blue Podcast, then you know exactly where to go. Of course, it is very good money for the channel as well. Make sure that you go and do that. Support your local channels. And hopefully, the four of us, if John does want to show up this time, we'll see you all in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.